Welcome to Team Futurism. Today we are going to be talking about the new Tesla Cybercab, and I want to compare and contrast that to begin with the Waymo taxi cab
Mhm.
that I finally had my first experience driving in one of those things or riding in one of those things. And
Mhm.
I want to talk about that first, and then let's get into the news about Elon's new invention and whether or not we should be excited about that. But
Yeah.
okay, so you said you've never ridden in a Waymo, right?
No, you texted me when you got in the Waymo, and I think we were both the same amount of excited.
Yeah.
I was like, so, because I have never been in one either, but I drive in San Francisco all the time, obviously, see them all the time. What was your, were you harassed? Did anyone did anyone did anyone stop you to hit on you, Pete?
Well, you know what's interesting is that like nowadays, Waymos are everywhere in San Francisco. Like I remember back in
Everywhere.
the day, like a year or two ago, you'd kind of like maybe once a week or whatever, you kind of see one driving by and be like, oh, that's funny,
Mhm.
you know.
Like, oh.
And for some reason, I never had the impulse to. We're into futurism, obviously, but like I'm not like a guy who's way into just like the latest thing
Neither of us are
necessarily.
early adopters.
Yeah, well, we're not really
Well,
early adopters. It's not my
mm-mm,
thing. And I'm not into
mm-mm.
gadgets, really. It's not my thing either. I'm more into like the philosophical and the social cultural shit. But so like I finally just like had the impulse that I'm gonna like figure out how this thing works. They're everywhere, right? You see them
Mhm,
everywhere. And like I'm sick of
mhm.
taking Ubers and everything. So I downloaded the app and it's super straightforward, very streamlined. It's a Google company at this point, so they have
Mhm.
it dialed in, dude. It's like it is like the Uber app, but almost even more streamlined. I feel like there was no glitchiness, and there was nothing that like made it so that I wanted to like click away from this. It just like it took me through the
Mm.
process. Here we are, here we go, and then like you just like say, here I am, I want to go here, just like the Uber app, and it pulls up, and then you click a thing on your phone, and it lets you in, like the door unlocks, and you just like you hop in.
Cool.
Okay, and so like I want to talk through this a little bit because I know a lot of people still don't even know that this technology exists. I was
Mhm,
listening to a
mhm.
podcast a couple of weeks ago where Steven Pinker was saying that like, oh, we're still a long way away from self-driving cars, etc. Like this was promised, but it's not even here yet. And it's like, okay, dude, it is here. And like to everyone out there
Where the
who
fuck
like
does he live, man?
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, like, so Waymo is in San Francisco, it's in Phoenix, and maybe they're rolling out a couple other places, but they're not ubiquitous. But like, that's not the point. The point is this technology is actually here.
Mhm.
And as someone from like the Bay Area, it still even blew my mind a little bit. So okay, let me talk you through this, just not to
It's
belabor
always
it, but to
weird
talk
to
you through it.
see. It's all you see it and it immediately gives you like a weird sense in your stomach when you see the car driving with no driver. Like
Yes.
it's like almost like a joke, like a trope. Like weird it's a weird experience just to see it.
You watch it to like as if it were a 17-year-old driver you're waiting for it to make a
Mhm.
mistake, right?
Oh yeah, big time. Big, ooh, ooh,
Yeah, and
ooh.
that's how I was when I first hopped in because like, you hop in the back and then you get buckled and it immediately starts talking to you in this very soothing voice.
We'll do all the driving, so please don't touch the steering wheel or pedals during your ride. We may use interior cameras to check on riders, improve our products, and more. But our microphones are only on when you're connected to rider support. So sing your heart out. We can't hear you.
Very soothing and very well done, not
Hello.
robotic at all.
Hello,
Definitely an
Peter.
improvement from like Bart, like
Would
technical
you
like
like a
city
drink,
transit.
Peter?
It should be at that level. It's not quite. But it's very soothing. Like soothing music starts playing. You have like two
Oh.
screens to look at that it monitors like everything around the vehicle, right? So it monitors
Mm.
where other cars are, where people are, where pedestrians are.
It just you're making it sound like a massage studio. It's like piano music and like a little puff of like lavender steam rises
Well,
up from a
what they're going for and what they actually succeeded in is
Mm.
making you feel safe and comfortable.
Well, I love that.
Like they dialed that in so that even if you were probably like maybe like a nervous person,
Hmm.
there are things in your environment that calm you down, like for
Hmm.
sure.
Hmm.
And then like, driving along the streets of San Francisco and I'm watching this thing and it's like doing everything perfect. Like it is a little bit like overly cautious, maybe, but you also want it to be. So, and like it was $20 to go from Dolores Park to like halfway across the city to I was going to see Richard Dawkins, the Masonic Theater. So it was like a pretty long drive, $20, like not bad. Uber would have cost the same. So this technology is here, it's worked, it seems to be dialed in. I'm sure it has some issues, but like, dude, it's like here now.
What was the like I have the two most salient things for me in any like ride share ride are how's the quality of the drive, right? Like the acceleration, deceleration, just the smoothness, the intuitiveness of like person in the car awareness, and the smell. Those are the only two things I really care about. Because I have been accosted by both herky jerky drivers, which I don't know if there is a worse experience than having someone who feathers the brake or the gas. I don't know.
Yeah.
And or the stinky driver, compassionate though I am, it's rough. So I hear that you said this, did it smell nice? And what was the drive like?
It was a Jaguar, leather seats, very nice car. The drive, like no stinkiness,
Okay.
no stinkiness. It's very cleanly feeling.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Good.
And in terms of the drive, it was super smooth, like super smooth. Like the one thing that maybe you're gonna miss, like on the human level, if you are someone who cares about like human level shit, is like Uber, like you always get stories, you know what I mean? Like you do 5 Ubers, like one of those 5 rides, you're gonna have a story or two. And so
big
like
time.
So
I almost converted to Islam on my last Uber ride, dude.
Well, I remember taking this Uber with Perry in New Orleans. We still joke about this to this day, how like we're driving to the airport and the Uber driver is playing a Limp Bizkit station, and the station is called, that is like his customized channel or whatever, and it was
Chocolate
called
Starfish.
Limpy for Life.
Oh, right.
We still
Very
talk about
nice.
Limpy for Life because like that's like,
Limpy
oh
for
my,
life, dude.
Limpy for life. If you're gonna be playing Limp Bizkit for your
lifetime
Uber riders, like go hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not gonna be hearing Limp Bizkit in the Waymo. So if you're gonna miss that, like don't take it. But dude, okay, like I'm gonna always take Waymo from now on in San Francisco. I'm done with Uber. Like it is actually that much better. It really is.
Wow.
Now,
really? Okay.
yeah. And I want to like pivot here to contrast this with the news out this week about Elon Musk and Tesla and their new Cybercab thing. So I watched a little bit of the event, and so, the big announcement here from Tesla is that they also now have a Cybercab that's going to be fully autonomous. This car does not have a steering wheel. There's no like brake or gas. It is designed to be a 100% autonomous vehicle. When you're watching the event, did you catch any of it by any chance? So like it was impressive, like visually very impressive. Everything about it dialed in, looks super sick. And during the event, Elon tweeted something that's kind of like stuck in my brain, and I actually kind of love this, that the future will look like the future. He tweeted.
Yeah, that's always been his kind of unstated aesthetic. I feel like he's like, well, why can't it look like the future? We're gonna build a rocket ship. We might as well make it look cool. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, man. Like I love that. I think that is really fucking cool.
I think that's actually important too, for the future to look like the future, because part of being a futurist at all is to be excited about the future and to think that we are progressing as a species, right? Like that's a big part of it.
Totally. Yeah, to feel it. I think it's probably part of whatever his like Anunnaki wisdom is, that because he's obviously an alien, and they're like, you have to make it look like the future to get them excited. They're apes, dude.
But what's interesting about Elon's thing is that, one, he's been hyping this for years and years and years and years, the classic like overhype, underdeliver. And interestingly, I was kind of expecting, having watched the event, that this would be a big gain for Tesla stock and that there would be a lot of excitement about it. I think that I was maybe over impressed by people's enthusiasm on Twitter because, I do follow a lot of like the Elon stans on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, day or two goes by, news stories come out, and like investors were completely unimpressed, and
Mm,
the stock dropped 9 points. And so
mm,
this is reading about it, then you kind of see some details that I had not really keyed into. One, there's no production of this thing happening. It's going to maybe start production like 2027.
mm-hmm.
And then like also it's just another kind of like flashy Elon move that we don't know. There's no like this is happening at this date. This is going to roll out and this will work and here's the proof of it. It's not that at all. Like even like the concept car looks super cool, but like it's who knows how functional this thing is. Who knows? Like we
Yeah.
just don't know. And then same with like his bus situation that he's rolling out, looks super awesome, visually dialed in, but does it work? Like, when will it work? When will it
He's
roll out?
funny.
What
He's kind of
regulations does he
like
push back on?
the Steve
Steve
Jobs.
Jobs?
He's like a troubled youth version of Steve Jobs because he actually, if you think about the Tesla like lineage and like I think kind of all of his stuff, he gets really excited, does like a big marketing push like 4 years before there's like a product.
Yeah.
And then as soon as there's a product and it's usually pretty badass and everybody usually likes, people usually talk a lot of shit about it at first. It's very Led Zeppelin-esque. People talk shit about it for about a year and then it's everywhere, and like I'm sure this will be the same way because the Cybertruck even, same thing. It was like it felt like it was taking forever. Then it got here. People are still in the midst of talking shit about it, but now there's a bunch of people that are like, oh, but I would probably use a Cybertruck for that.
Mhm.
Like it has now applications and it'll probably be everywhere in a couple of years when the things get
Like,
ironed out.
yeah,
Which
like
I
police
think,
stations are now like ordering Cybertrucks, which is
yeah,
interesting. So
because
there's a market for these.
there's
Yeah.
a couple jobs that I could think of that it probably would do really well for. But I think probably the self-driving thing is smart because I was thinking like, oh, I wonder if the stock went down because most people would not trust a self-driving car yet. And
Yeah.
it just like living in San Francisco, you still have this like felt sense of like, ooh, like we'll see how this goes. And like that's open-minded, like liberal people, dude. Like in the middle of the country, oh no, Lord, no.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's gonna go over well. And what's interesting that I've been reflecting on is that everybody now it's still so new that it feels exotic. What happens when they're everywhere? Like, do they get mass vandalized? They've already been vandalized a lot, but like, do they survive? Does a vehicle really survive all alone out here in these cold streets? You know what I mean? Like, we'll find out.
Yeah, boy, there's a lot there that I kind of want to respond to. I mean, maybe my first thought is that like I remember when it was a big story when all the bird scooters got rolled out, and then we were all saying the
Hmm.
same thing, like these things are just gonna be vandalized. And I remember walking on the streets of San Jose
And
when I
they
used to work down
were.
there. They were, but then again, that moment passed. They're still here,
Hmm.
and bums apparently
Hmm.
just got bored with like vandalizing them because they just don't seem to as much anymore, which is interesting.
True.
But yeah, maybe my broader point about the whole cyber taxi, cybercab thing, I am not ready to count Elon out, right?
I wish I could.
I no, I kind of wish I could too at some level, but like I don't think
He's getting more
that
annoying every single day. Every day he's getting more annoying. And in a way that you're like, he's such a man. Sorry, I don't want to digress into my annoyance with the man, but like his history class pick me energy,
yeah.
like stinky kid in history class pick me energy is killing me.
Well, okay. Well, let's. I do want to talk about Elon. Let's just go ahead and talk about him.
Yeah. All
Which
right.
is that like so I have the same thing. Like I have to block him on Twitter, etc., because like he's so annoying. And like the fact that he's trying to just politicize the hell out of Twitter to get Trump elected, I think is so just disgusting and annoying and gross, especially when his whole thing is like, we're gonna make Twitter neutral. And a lot of people like who I even like know and like kind of bought into that just because he said it. Just like, don't buy into what somebody says, buy into like what their actions say. And there's so many people who are like genuinely smart who I like who are like, yay, Twitter's finally neutral and whatever. I was like, dude, oh my God, like
Nah.
get the fuck out of here. But okay. Dude, I like to play both sides on the shit. So I
Okay. All
just
right.
listened to Elon Musk on the All In podcast, and I haven't listened to him talk for a good long while. And here's the thing, when Elon talks long form, there's so much that is like genuinely lovable about him and genuinely like, I can't believe this guy is real. And he laughs at himself and he's super funny and he's super irreverent and he's everything that you would kind of like want out of
A meme lord.
a meme lord, a billionaire. I don't know, like he's so like also like American in so many like delightful ways. I don't know, like I think that the people who get too upset with him, me being kind of one of them, I think that I just see the shit. I just walk into the shit that makes me not like him. When I do like look at the other direction of like ways that I'm like stoked about what he's up to and like the guy who's like doing a lot of things that I think should be exciting to us. Um, there's still something there. I think that like a lot of people, Trump made him go insane at some level. Free speech shit, that meme of free speech made him go insane, and more thoughtful people than him need to be like tackling that topic, and he should not have bought Twitter, etc. I don't know. What's your thought on that though? Because I
I
can be
just had
overly impressed by people's like charisma and shit.
I just had this thought kind of bubble up from the depths of my psyche. And it was this, it's that like sociopathic people have always been the most successful people in our society, but the
Yeah.
version of sociopath that we used to get were people who were like physically abusive to the people around them, and or emotionally kind of intensely abusive to the people around them. I wonder if the new version of sociopath is like the incel sociopath, like Elon, where it's like he obviously got brushed upon by like Andrew Tate at some point, and just that whole kind of like manosphere. Like he's a very deeply internetized person and
Yeah.
considers himself to be like deeply ingrained as like an older person in this, in the kind of, you know, material fabric of the internet. And it's just painfully clear, I think, to anyone who shares that awareness that like, you know, he got spoken to by one of the darker corners of the internet, and it affected his feeling of like franchisement as a white male in society, and his access to women, and what he feels like he should and shouldn't. And it's just like, you know, I think most men have had a brush with that, like that ideologue, that like that whole system of beliefs that does have like a weirdly reasonable kind of base structure to it, but it is distorted in a way that's unhelpful to just living in a normalistic way, and in society in a generous and like, I don't know, fulsome way. And yeah, go ahead,
Well, just to jump in there a little bit, I
yeah.
do think that his project of quote unquote saving free speech, as cringy as that is and as cringy as he makes it, that is an important project. And I do have a little bit of time for people who criticize left wing media for being super narrative driven, for being super
Yeah.
like, let's kick people off social media for saying the wrong thing and having wrong think. You know what I mean? I have time for that. But at the same time, if you're going to criticize that, you can't give the right a free pass. Because it's not like the right, the political right, doesn't also do the same shit and have the same intentions at some level. And also,
Yeah.
the third peg here that no one ever talks about in the same conversation is I'm not bought in on Twitter being the town square or social media apps being the town square. There's an algorithm thing here. When the founders of the
Yeah.
Constitution were
It's
talking about like the town
proprietary.
square, they're talking about like
Yeah.
dudes being able to just like go around and
Could you
talk
imagine
and not be
it
jailed
just
for what they're saying, not being kicked off a social media platform, or not being like angry because the algorithm didn't pick up their fucking shitty like subversive tweets, and that's like now they're politically engaged because the algorithm, some dork at Twitter like made it so the algorithm didn't boost them. That is so far removed from what the founders of the Constitution thought about free
That's so
speech.
true. That's a
So
great
anyway, so
point.
those are a couple of different things, all balls in the air that need to all be in this conversation. Elon would
Yeah.
never put those balls in the air at the same time. Like a lot of people on the left or the right don't, but it's all fucking in play. It's all in play, plus other factors. And when you do like look at that kind of holistically, Elon looks like a dumb dumb, but also like the people who are just like on the left look dumb. I don't know, but like yeah, it's a broader conversation that overall Elon looks like an idiot half the time.
I think it's like it's a real version, it's a real modern archetype of person to be kind of like a quant nerd
Mhm.
that is a bit too divorced from the emotional and psychological reality of personhood to not kind of have sociopathic tendencies. And like, I don't know, like look at someone like Mark Cuban. Like, yeah, obviously he's got like body dysmorphia issues and stuff, and has had a lot of work done and blah blah blah, but like seems eminently self-aware and just
Mhm.
kind of very engaged with the emotional substrate of reality and
Yeah.
generosity and charitable, and just presenting himself in a charitable and generous way. And like I feel like, like Elon really feels like latchkey kid. Like my father was like an apartheid villain, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, and like didn't heal from it, didn't gain the self-awareness, didn't gain the emotional engagement complex that it would have taken to kind of balance out. But then do we get SpaceX, Tesla, Solar City? Do we get all of like the benefits from that crazy imbalance? Like if he's more of like a regulated person that has like a broader scope, then do we get like all these weird needlepoint advancements? It's so hard to, it's like part of me despises people who refuse to gain like a significant level of emotional awareness, because it's kind of just criminal to the people around you. And you can see him having his like childlike meltdown live in front of the entire world because he
Yeah.
just kind of ignored this part of his selfhood that really needed some fucking attention, and but then on the other hand, then do we get the weird genius achievements and stuff? I don't know. I don't know, is one worth the other? Also don't know. All I know is that as a person my age, and probably, you feel this to some degree too, if you're going to become a leader of people, you're even at a job, your responsibility to balancing your own self-awareness and the way that you lead people is paramount. And like we're just not at a time anymore where you can be like a wacky creative that's also kind of weirdly emotionally abusive and like doesn't really fucking get how society is supposed to function in like a kind of normalistic way. I don't know.
I do think, maybe to push back on that a teeny bit, I
Please
think that
do.
it's interesting that our society is able to tolerate or even encourage different forms of badness, because we
Mm,
are a
mm,
damn successful society. And we
true.
do, if you look at like the
Yeah,
patents
true.
coming out of America
So
versus the
true.
patents
Yeah.
coming out of Europe, it's because we just have a lot of tolerance for people who are all
Mm-hmm.
over the board. And it would be unfortunate if every
Too true.
CEO in Silicon Valley had the same personality type or whatever. I
Mm,
mean, I
mm, mm.
remember when I worked at Thomson Reuters. One time there was like a personality thing that floated around that we all were all like didn't have to, but kind of were encouraged to take because it was interesting and fun. And part of it was it showed the personality types of all the top CEOs of the company.
Mm.
And the point of it was to show that no matter what your personality type is, you can succeed at this company.
No,
Because all
that's
the
cute.
CEOs, they weren't all the same, which was kind of shocking. You'd think they all kind of would have the same personality profile, but they didn't,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Uh,
they just share. You just have to be ruthless. You can
yes.
be you can be like a kind and ruthless person. You can be a heartless, ruthless person.
In my experience in business and like actually chumming it up with some CEO types, just like working Silicon Valley, it
Mhm.
is interesting. Some people did just kind of like quietly fail upwards, you know.
Mhm.
There,
Mhm.
there are some people who are not at all ruthless. They just kind of like quietly, you know,
Mhm.
fell upwards, as the expression is. I think that is a thing too,
Mhm.
because
Oh
like
yeah.
Silicon Valley is big enough now that it needs some just like fucking paper pushers. And these are the people
Mhm.
that I run into now all the time in the government, because I work for the government, and like it's all paper pushers. So there are some of those in Silicon Valley too. Anyway, the last thing I want to talk about here too is I think that we'd be remiss if we did not talk about Optimus, the Tesla bot, the, the humanoid creature
I
that
didn't see
is also
anything. I
rolling
didn't
out.
see this.
I mean, Tesla has been slow rolling the rollout of the Optimus for a
Mm,
while, and
nice.
it was a very prominent feature of their recent event.
Mm,
And for one thing, I think this is going to be an important development because there's so many factory jobs right now that
mhm.
cannot be filled at all. Like there are
Mhm. Mhm.
thousands
Mhm.
and thousands and thousands of like very
Mm, bring
boring manual
manufacturing
labor.
back to the United States, huh?
You have to have like literally either immigrants or robots. And right now we don't have robots, and so we're waiting on our heels for more immigrants. That like politically is complicated. But so there's a use for these things, obviously. But Elon like has this like this phrase he always says, that wouldn't you love a robot like R2D2? Like everyone loves a robot, haha. Most normies that I like my family and
Mhm.
everything, would never want one of these. And I don't think
Mm-mm.
that Elon's in touch with normal people with normal lives who think that like Star Wars shit, any reference to Star Wars, you've lost them.
Yeah.
They think it's
Yeah.
super cringy and cheesy and
Yeah.
dumb, and no one like people don't want to live in that world because like
Yeah.
it's cheesy. Like
Yeah,
I don't
because
like
it's not
Star Wars either.
1984.
It's
Yeah.
cheesy, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that like he has some of these things a little bit backwards, but it is damn impressive. Since you haven't like seen this too much, let me just ask you, like, would you ever want a robot hanging around your house doing your dishes or whatever, like that looks humanoid?
I think about getting an assistant all the time. Like it wouldn't even I wouldn't even need like a God, if they just had like an AI assistant that was actually good enough to just be like, hey, can you schedule this, 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 and this? Also, can you just bang me up something that looks like this and da 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 da. Like when it gets that good, I will have one. I don't really have much of a need for like a physical assistant. Maybe when I get old.
Mhm.
Like I'd be stoked to have someone like I'd be stoked to just like ride. Yeah, sure. I don't see why not. I would just I still say please and thank you to Chat GPT, so I would probably be overly kind in case they ever rose up against me. I would but yeah, sure, why not?
Okay. I kind of feel you there. I mean, these things are going to be like allegedly like 20 to $30,000 is like the price of a
That's
cheap
pretty cheap.
car. Elon always says, and he says that they're going to come down in price because if you think about it, this is, I mean, I know nothing about this, but he says it. If you think about it, all manufacturing of any product always just eventually comes down to the price of the materials.
Mm,
And the price of the materials for this thing is like insignificant compared to what like you have to manufacture to get a car to run, just in terms of
mhm,
like all the materials that you need. So
mm,
that's kind of interesting. So he says that they might be cheaper than 20,000 eventually, definitely cheaper than the car, he says. I don't know, like
crazy.
if everyone that you know has one, just like everyone you know has a phone, man, I can maybe kind of see it, but also like I again, like I don't think that there's gonna be as wide adoption as a phone, because like a phone fits in your pocket. This thing like you have to look at all the time, and like it's very obtrusive into your life. I don't know, like
Mhm, mhm.
there's some level where it's just not going to be what he thinks it is, I think. But I'm excited for it. I think it's a thing.
Yeah, I think for like honestly, for manufacturing purposes, like I know that this country is very obsessive about jobs and giving people jobs and finding jobs for people to do. Not as obsessive as it needs to be about future proofing people against a lot of jobs going away. But for us, I think as a country, where we should be headed is towards producing most things domestically, just generally, like enough for subsistence, or enough. having enough manufacturing capability that we're not overly reliant on really anything, because we don't have a reason to be. We have most of the resources to make most things here, but labor is prohibitive. And so
Yeah. So this would take care of that labor
this
problem.
would take care of a lot of that, and a lot of it is like jobs that actually wouldn't probably be lost by Americans, but will be lost by overseas people who are working for American companies, which
Mhm.
would be sick. I don't know, that would be kind of like a cool movement if we were really thinking about bringing manufacturing back to the United States in a meaningful way, and just relying less on, like, I don't know, cheap Chinese crap, like general crap from other places, like import artisanal goods only, and just be making all of like the basic stuff here with robots. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that changes within our lifetimes, because there is gonna be supposedly like less globalization going forward. We always will be partners with
That'd be great.
Mexico and Canada, but
Yeah,
there is a
great.
broad appetite across the political spectrum to get more jobs in America. I mean, to get more products made in America. Like everyone's
Yeah.
for that, if not for the fact that it just sounds good. Like, how do you? No one can ever say I want less manufacturing in America. No one can like straightforwardly say that, even though the globalization thing has been nothing but a benefit to us, like broadly speaking. Yet, like, yeah, we like emptied out some parts of the Midwest, but most of those jobs were gonna like go away anyway at some point, like 100%. Like we
Mm-hmm,
don't have
mm-hmm.
elevator operators anymore. Like some of those jobs that we lost are that level of a job. And I don't know, like we are a high value add society. We
Yeah,
train people from kindergarten onwards to be ready for high value add jobs. We do
yeah.
not send people to school for 18 years at like very, like globally speaking, very good schools so that they can
Mm-hmm.
sit at a factory and like drop little, beads on a
One
coil. And we
thousand
just don't do
percent,
that. We
man.
don't want to do that. And if that's what we're
One
striving
thousand
for,
percent.
we've dropped the ball.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what people are doing. Those were the jobs that we lost. Like my grandma had one of those jobs in Portland where for 30 years, and she had this nice pension, like she just did this very mechanical weld one thing, weld one thing, weld one thing. And she did that for 30 years. That job's done. Thank fucking
Fuck
God. You know
that.
what I mean? Yeah.
Dude, there's so many jobs that humans shouldn't be having. It's just we do have to have some version of modified socialism in this country where there's a wealth cap on corporations, and like some way that like wealth over a certain amount is redistributed or something, because like you can't have more and more physical labor taken away, where so many people are kind of unskilled in the modern sense of labor, and then have companies sequestering larger and larger proportions of the market share of any given industry that are going away from giving people jobs, and into just like 7 people at the top that are managing all the robots, or 50 people at the top, or even 200 people at the top that are managing all the robots, when it used to be a 5,000 person company. You know what I mean? It's
So
like that is something that we're going to have to legislate forward on it, so that it doesn't become a silly Ray Bradbury fable.
So we're in this very odd time right now, and let me pull up some Elon Musk sisms here to make maybe my final point. But we're in this very strange time where we're creeping up on the ability to automate everything. Like if we get
Yeah.
AGI, it's over. It's not like, oh, we lost 10% of the job market. It's like it's over, guys. Like we got,
Yeah.
and this is going to be the era, not where like we need some legislation, but we need to rethink life in general, like society
Yeah.
in general, because this is what Elon Musk was just saying on the All In podcast, and I've heard him say a bunch. A lot of people say this. We could potentially enter an era of obscene abundance where no
Yeah.
one wants for anything. And then all of a sudden, like we're going to be jockeying for status and trying to figure out how to get status because comfort is settled. Like we have
Right.
every material comfort. Everyone has a nice house. Everyone has enough food or more than enough. You know what I mean? Like we're
Mm-hmm.
almost, maybe it's 20 years, maybe it's 500, but I mean, like in the scale of time, if this at all conceivably happens, dude, isn't this is gonna be like a new era of human life, you know?
We're one energy technology away from that. Like once
Yeah.
electricity is infinite, like come on, man. It's over. We don't need anything ever again.
Yeah,
You know,
energy and I mean, I guess it does get a little bit more complicated if like sea level rise does like ruin half our coastal cities globally or whatever. I don't
does
know.
it though?
We're gonna
Because
have to do something.
with infinite electricity, you can just move an infinite amount of Earth. You can just do an infinite
True.
amount
Yeah.
of you can just do an infinite amount of
And
work.
if robots are doing the labor
Yeah.
with free energy, yeah, I mean
Yeah.
the pieces do stack up. You're totally right.
Yeah,
When you do start to
man.
think about it, the
We
pieces
could
stack up.
keep fighting in the mud for another fucking 2,000 years, though. We've got a really bad history about innovating away from crabs in a bucket mentality.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right, man. Hey, good talks.
I know. Yeah.
I gotta bounce, but that was great. Till next time.